the Fresh Anointing Show with Jay Richardson. Let's see what nuggets Jay has for us today on the Fresh Anointing Show. Let's listen in now with Jay Richardson. The Fresh Anointing Show.
Yo, my man Jay. Come on.
Top of the day to you and welcome to the Fresh Anointing Show. Thanks for joining us on another great day that God has given us. I don't know about you, but I always get excited when I see another day and the sun is shining. You can't beat that. So we appreciate you joining the conversation today. It is Wellness Wednesday, and we have with us today the Thompsons. Welcome to the Fresh Anointing Show.
Thank you. Great morning to you.
Yes. So I'm excited about this topic as we talk about levels of one love. And I think that's a great topic because for me, when I look at our world today, we use the word love with so many different things. Do we really understand? Do we really know what love is? Because the reason I say that is because we say, I love hamburgers. I love my car. I love, ice cream. We love all of these different things. But what happens when it really comes down to what love really is? And when I think about it, I look at love as something that God has given us. And we all know the Greek word agape, the unconditional love. And we always quote that or use that term, agape love. But do we really understand what unconditional love is? Because I believe that most of the time in life, we put conditions on love. If you don't do what I want you to do, if you don't act like I want you to act, then I stop loving you. But that's not unconditional love. So tell us a little bit about the level of one love, levels of one love. What does that really mean?
Wow, that was powerful. And with you bringing it right to the forefront, when you think of agape, the greatest love that you can have across the board, and the different levels of one love, as you shared a few moments ago, you can love a hamburger, you can love ice cream. But when it comes to people, how can you love them with their faults, their shortcomings, or if they're different than who you are? So in that one love, if you're loving yourself, it's so much easier to love somebody else unconditionally. If you're happy and content and have joy and peace, all of those different levels, you can meet people where they are and have and give that unconditional love. And that's huge. You're right. It's missing at every level. There's some kind of hole, some kind of gap somewhere. So as we interact with people, it's not like a hamburger. A hamburger isn't going to talk back. It may disagree with you digestibly, but it's not going to talk back. It's not going to, treat you any different. But those levels of one love really fall under the agape umbrella. And it just has the different layers as you are really respecting yourself and others.
Yeah, if we really get down to really being able to love, as you talked about, loving a person totally different from loving your car, loving, your favorite food. When you think about, we talked about the agape love, the unconditional love, that is the love that God has given us, and that love flows through him. And that's how I feel that we're able to really carry out that unconditional love to someone else. It has to flow from God through us to the person that we are in a relationship with, or for our family members. Now, here's the other thing. There's another word for love, and that's phileo love. Phileo love is that brotherly love. And we are all familiar with that friendship love. And I think when we put the pieces together, agape love, unconditional love, phileo love, the friendship love, Then there's another love, which is the eros love, which is your romantic type love. And then you have your epithumia love for married couples.
Yes, those levels.
Right. And there's another one too, and it's the storge love. That's that commitment. I'm committed to you, the storge love. But anyway, I think that we have to have all of those different pieces of love together. That is the whole total prescription. It's like if you bake a cake and if you leave one ingredient out of that cake, then that cake is not going to be a real dynamic cake like it should be if you had all the ingredients in it. And so the same thing, if we have those different ingredients in our relationships when we talk about the levels of love. So when you think about that, the levels of love, how would you all as a couple define love?
As a couple? Well, as a couple,
I mean, you have a different perspective. She may have a different perspective.
yes, yes.
That's what I mean with from a couple. What are you all's perspective when we talk about that?
My perspective is commitment, my character, my integrity. My name is very important to me. Two, the teachings from, receiving love, when people have gave you love due to your shortcomings and never made you feel different, is that you take all those points into consideration to bring into your life. Because for you to be in a relationship with another person, you had to have relationships as a child, with your parents, your aunts, your uncles, from your leadership perspective, to know how to be in a relationship with another person and committed. So sometimes you have to look at yourself and love yourself and love how people have empathy for you to be the heaven for another person. And I think that's what we lacking today. Because we went from...
You just said something that I thought was very key. Loving yourself.
Yes.
If you don't love yourself, how can you love someone else?
Yeah.
That I think that's a big piece right there. You just said a mouthful, and that is something that is so important. If we don't love ourselves, it's going to be very, very difficult to love other people.
Yes. Yes. That is so true. And I know for me, love as a couple is, because we go so far back, having a strong foundation. And as he mentioned earlier, commitment. So at the ground level, we already knew what our commitment was to one another, regardless of everything else. And to make that love stronger, we are just as good or great at individually as we are collectively, because in our love, we are able to be individuals. And sometimes people lose themselves and not grow or continue to pour in and learn and appreciate. So when we grow as individuals, our love together is even stronger.
Yeah, and I think that's important. And you talk about the word commitment. I think commitment is one of those big words that we kind of push to the side, because when you talk about relationships, and this is not just relationships with husband and wife, but this is relationships with family, with friends, because we all have different, as you talk about the different levels of love. And so there are those different levels in our relationships, because all those relationships that we have, we love people in different categories. When I talk about loving my mom, That's a different type of love than loving a friend. And I think that going back, when you talk about commitment, commitment is one of those key pieces that, especially when you talk about getting in a serious relationship with someone and not being committed to that person. Because now here's another small, big word, and that is trust. Mm. Those two go together, the commitment and the trust. I think they are brothers and sisters. They come together. You got to have the commitment and you have to have the trust with each other to be able to move into that unconditional love, as we talked about earlier. What are you all thoughts on that?
Well, trust is a very, very big thing in my life. You know, it came down from my elders. You know, like I always tell you about, my word means something. What my elders have taught me, and I've been very blessed to have the education from my elders, and commitment and trust and integrity and character. But sometimes everybody haven't had that in their life. So sometimes some people don't know how to receive that or respect that. And I see with me being 58 years old, a lot of people that I have mentored and dealt with is almost foreign to them. Mm-hmm. What I thought was natural wasn't natural to a lot of people. And I have put myself out on a limb a lot of ways based on the old-fashioned principles, where today the law and the system say you shouldn't do that. But people went out on a limb for me like that to inspire me and build me up. So I'm kind of very believe in doing things God's way instead of man's way.
That's the best way, God's way. Yes, yes, yes.
Yes. And for me, when you talk about trust, you're right. With commitment and trust, they go hand in hand, brother and sister. And I always bring it right back to that same thing. The love that you have for yourself, the peace that you have inside for yourself allows you to be able to trust and be trusted, because now the guard is down. You have that open communication. You're able to meet one another where you are, because you don't mind being transparent. And again, it starts from within.
Yeah, those are key pieces. And I think that, and when we talk about, let's move from just, I want to digress from the family side of love, because that, again, that's a different level of love. But when you talk about friendship, love, and getting to know someone outside of your family, I think that first we have to understand that person, and that calls for education. Do you really understand who this person is? Have you gotten to know this person? Have you ever heard people, they've gotten together, they just started a relationship, and 4 weeks later they say, I love you, right? So, but you don't really know this person. You can't get to know a person within 4 weeks, right? So I think that we have to take time to educate ourselves with each other. And that takes time within itself to know, what type of food do you like? What type of music do you like? What's your favorite, football team, basketball team, whatever. All of these different things comes into play. What's your favorite color? And I've heard ladies say that, the person that they were dating or sometimes even married to didn't even know their favorite color. Mm. You have to study the person and you have to get to know the person. And that comes by really having great conversations together and then you move to different levels in building that relationship. And before you can say, I love you, you have to go through those stages. And if you don't go through those stages and you get into serious relationships, there's some things, again, goes back to those different ingredients. Some things that are missing, it's going to cause problems within the relationship. But I'll stop. Let me hear from you all. So what are some of the ways you give love to yourself and to others?
Well, the way I give love is trying to inspire my tribe, my friends, my family, and support my elders. And if you truly love someone, you want to see good come from them. You want to see them do better. You know, even if they do better than you, because you wouldn't be where you are today if people didn't build you up, inspired you, and taught you that you can achieve and to believe in yourself. And through my past, some people today they call it arrogant and cocky. But, in the old school, they told you what you can do. You wasn't allowed to say the word can't. And if you work hard at it, you can achieve it, regardless of, what your eyes have seen. Your mind is more powerful than your eyes. And I've been very blessed with, elders like that. So I pass that down on to young people. So I put my actions where my words at, and like I tell the young people in my life, all I give you is $1. I say, if I do give you something, it's an investment because God gave you everything what you need. So when I give you something, you have to learn how to receive love. This is not, and I say, I'm only giving you $1 from a man point of view, but this is an investment. Take this and make it grow. And I said, two, you take it and invest in somebody else, even if it's your younger cousin, family member, or friend, share the knowledge, or even your unborn child. Take it and invest it for their future, even though they're not here today.
Yeah. So what I hear you saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, but one side of giving love is making an investment in a person.
Yes.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, and I'll share a little bit with that too. Even when you talked about, love as a married couple, love with a mother, love with a friend, those different layers, and I was sharing earlier with the different levels, for us, it's so easy when we're out in public, we can meet strangers that by the time we've crossed paths that have thanked us for taking that moment to share with them. And like you said, always inspiring, whether there's a young couple with a little kid in a store, or we're walking downtown, down the street, just really, again, that level of confidence and peace that we have within ourselves. It's easy for us to share something inspiring or even just smile at someone that we come across. But our biggest thing is always giving back. Our neighbors, we've only met them, it's not even a year yet. And when you seek first to understand, then to be understood, along with knowing who you are and what your principles are, it allows for relationships to flow because there's no hidden agenda. And another layer to that is us showing love as well. We volunteer a lot. He started a nonprofit organization for me. That's a whole nother little thing. When it comes to our again, the younger people, because we feel like there's such a gap, even sometimes with our own. So we take that and still pour it into those who still wish to be inspired, but may not have the opportunity in front of them. So that's huge for us.
Yeah, and I want to go back to something you said about, just meeting a stranger. So God gives us the commandment that we are to love everyone. So again, goes back to what you were saying of the different levels of love. Now, so having a relationship with someone, that's one level of love. meeting a stranger. Now you just met him, but it's the love of God. Again, that love that comes from God that flows through us to be able to, I don't know how to define it, but it's a love that God has given us, that we love the person for who they are because it's God that created that person. We may not have a relationship with that person right off, but it's something that grows. As you talked about your neighbor, you've known them for a few months now, but you're building that relationship with them. And the longer you continue building that relationship, the stronger that relationship gets. And you're giving love to them in many different ways. So I think for us in our world today, we must understand those different levels of love. It's one word, love, but there are many different levels of that love that God gives us. And I think that that's so important of what you all have talked about in being able to love on many different levels. So I want to ask you this. What would you say to the young people today that's coming up in a society and all the norms are changing now? A tradition that has been known for many, many years is being kicked out, if you will. They don't get into the tradition.
Well, I always show them, when I talk to them, you have to know your history. You have to know who you are. If you know your history and know who you are and where you come from, and I think that kinds of in our race of people from the trauma they have endured and what in the propaganda and the lies and the manipulation that they have seen so much, it's easy to become confused. That's why studying your history, looking for the facts, and you have to know who you are, and that's how we was raised. So I'm comfortable in any environment. Plus, with traveling, being in different cultures, different countries, being being the only Black man in the atmosphere, I'm very comfortable in my skin, and I don't apologize for being in my skin. And we have to build our young people up with courage and love, and let them know they're beautiful, let them know they're strong, what they can do. Because they have lacked a lot of confidence. And I was just up there in the weekend with my family, and I was asking, the ones that around 30, how do you feel about that former USA? That was an attorney, former USA, that committed suicide. Because you have to understand where they come from, why you would do something like that, if you don't feel like you have someone to go talk to. And I had people I can call at my angriest moment that saved me from going over that leg or being so angry that I do harm to somebody else. I had the freedom to call my mother, my aunt, and talk to them and not be, judged by the words that are coming out of my mouth. They know how to talk me down because I knew who I could call and rely on.
Yeah. I think that's a great example of giving love in so many different ways. If we look at Christ and how he loved people, that he met them for the first time. He loved them for who they were, and he taught them how to be comfortable within themselves. He healed them, he loved them, he blessed them. And that's a model that I think that is important that we ought to follow. We ought to love people, teach them, as you talked about, teaching them and being able to help them along the way. So there are so many different ways to give love. And we just have to learn how to give love. And it's all dependent on the person that you are in that relationship with, whether that's a family member, whether it's a spouse, whether it's a person that you are dating, whether it's a friend or a stranger. So those are many different levels of love and how we share God's love with each other. And those are key pieces. Well, we have been talking with the Thompsons. Yvetta and Michael Thompson has been sharing with us, giving us some great nuggets on levels of one love. And I think it's important that we understand how to love each other. And for you all, I really appreciate you all coming on the Fresh Anointing show and talking about love. You all seem like you all are just exuding with this love as a couple, as individuals as well, but as a couple, just exuding with it. And I just love it. I appreciate that. Any closing thoughts you all would like to share?
Yeah, so like what I was telling you, like you have to be trained up, you have to be taught to love yourself so you can love someone. And you have to learn how to be a good friend. You know, me and my wife were good friends as teenagers, and I always trusted her. And with that experience, like, you know, I'm very straightforward and honest. And when I would talk to people, it was like I could be out at a cafe or sitting downtown and I could be talking, and people are like, "That's unbelievable." My wife can call me, my phone be there. I said, "Answer my phone." You know, ask her. I said, "She's my friend and she's my family and she's my wife." You know, sometimes she may not be all three. I said, "My wife don't like me all the time." I said, "My family don't like me all the time."
Thank goodness for the family.
So the same energy I give out, even down to the young kids, they correct me, even down to 8 years old, you know?
We have to be teachable.
We have to be teachable, and we make each other stronger by supporting one another and not having envy and jealousy and stuff like that. And like she was talking about the neighbors and just moving here, they never met us. I mean, people have trust me with their kids in their home. Like if they go on vacation, you know, I go in and take care of their dogs. I go pick their daughters up from school, stuff like that. It's like you have to be true to yourself, not get caught up in this world, because you'll become lost. You know, even though I might be a little bit traditional, conservative, and very straightforward, I can walk down the street without looking behind my back. And people can never say what I have done to them. They say I always help them, but I said, when people was hard on me, they wouldn't let me say I can't. They said, do the right thing. There was no exception.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good. Yvetta, what are your closing thoughts?
Again, it's when I think about the youth in this world and everything that's in front of them, and hearing third graders say that they're stressed, and really getting to know them and really just taking things at another level, and pouring into our youth at every single opportunity, whether it's our own as much as possible or volunteering in the schools, and just being that added support. I am a supporter. I can be your biggest cheerleader. I can tell you, in the Les Brown's words, there's greatness within you.
Yeah.
But when they don't know, they don't know. So that is my mission.
And it starts at home.
Yeah.
It starts in the house. So I think the dining room table is one of the most powerful places in the home.
Yes, I've heard that said many times when you sit at the table and just be authentic, be you, be real, and allow, especially the young people, allow them to share. Back in the day, a lot of times the older people didn't allow children to get into the conversation, and they banded them from getting into the conversation, or they would not talk to them about certain things. But I think it's important, as you said. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just agreeing with you and saying how detrimental that's been to our thought process, our mindsets, and it really sets us back as a people even more than any other cultures.
Yeah, because it's needed.
I have a saying to
Yes.
that, and I always tell the young people, I said, we need you guys. I said, a tree without roots will, when the wind blows, it will tip over.
Mhm.
I don't care how much you accumulate, but if you don't invest in the young generation, it will cost you. It will cost you severely, because you cannot pass anything down to them what they haven't been trained to how to handle it. It's like an injustice. It's an injustice to them. I said, that's why I'm very direct. I said, I'd rather for you to have knowledge and not know. Because if you don't never have the knowledge, you'll become my enemy. Because you'll never understand what I'm doing. You're turn on the ones that's trying to provide for you. And that's why you hear about the kids killing their parents and stuff like that today.
Yeah.
Because they've never been trained.
Right. Those are key pieces. And once again, we've been sharing with the Thompsons on the Fresh Anointing Show, Levels of One Love. Thank you for joining us and joining in on the conversation. Like us on Facebook and subscribe to us on YouTube. Put in the chat box your thoughts. What do you think about this different levels of one love and how we can love each other? We will be glad to hear from you. That's going to wrap it up for us on the Fresh Anointing Show. Until next time, may the Lord bless you real good.
That's going to wrap it up for the Fresh Anointing Show with Jay Richardson. Just remember this: the Lord is the strength of your life. Whom shall you fear? Keep looking up. Until next time.